Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. But if you're new here, my name's Tyler and I just do consistent content on all things related hockey in the NHL overall. And we have seen some big moves to start the day 2 of the NHL free agent frenzy, with the biggest one by far now being Tyson Barrie, the coveted UFA defenseman, going to the Edmonton Oilers. There's a lot of interesting factors into Barrie going to Edmonton here. You can look at the fact of what has been reported by the likes of Darren Dreger really coming out with this first, and Frank Saravelli breaking the fact that Barrie took a discount to go to Edmonton quite significantly. He just took a 1-year deal of just under $4 million, really a prove-it deal, which is perfect for both parties in my personal opinion. And you have Barrie turning down the likes of a $6 million AAV offer from an opposing team. So it just goes to show that Barrie was really committed to going to the likes of Edmonton. He stays in Canada obviously, and I think this is a perfect move for both sides, truly. Because yes, Barrie did have a down year with the Toronto Maple Leafs when it comes to his overall point production and play. He only had 39 points versus having a career high season prior just 2 years ago in his final year with Colorado Avalanche before being dealt in that big trade with the Leafs with 59 points. But Barrie, he's 29 years old. He's 5'11", 197 pounds. He was originally drafted in the 3rd round by the Colorado Avalanche, in which he has been a very sound offensively minded defenseman. He's had at least 38 points in 7 seasons in his career. So point production has really not been a problem for Barrie. And yes, things didn't work out in Toronto. If you know me, if you've seen my previous videos, especially regarding the TJ Brodie deal, I love that for the Leafs in their own right, but I hated the trade for the likes of Barrie going to the Leafs just over a year ago. It didn't make any sense to me for the Leafs. It's nice to see them really change things and bring in a more sound defenseman in Brodie, but Barrie now gets a different change of scenery with Edmonton. I think he's going to thrive big time there. But this past season with the Leafs, at least, he had 5 goals, 34 assists for 39 points in 70 games, like I mentioned. And then the year prior, he had 14 goals, 45 assists for 59 points, which is still a career high in his young career at the age of 29. And he has also had 5 seasons with at least 12 plus goals. So very impressive for an offensively minded defenseman. And yes, this isn't necessarily addressing Edmonton when it comes to their defense as a whole, because they do have some holes in their defense still, but bringing in Barrie makes perfect sense for not just one. You get him on a 1-year prove-it deal, which is perfect, under $4 million, which is definitely worth it, even given the just over $5 million that they currently have in cap space until now. But you also have Oscar Klefbom that comes into play, which I really think was a factor here. Klefbom, their best defenseman in my personal opinion, is very strong on the power play when healthy, but he has been dealing with injuries throughout his career, and he looks like he may be out long term, or at least for a significant period of time next season for Edmonton, as he's dealing with some serious shoulder issues that may require surgery. I know he's been searching for 2nd and 3rd options, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But Barrie comes in, he's automatically the power play quarterback for the Edmonton Oilers. He is the best offensively minded defenseman by far on that blue line, and now he's going to be playing along with the likes of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. It doesn't get much better than that. As I mentioned, I really love this deal for Ken Holland. It makes perfect sense. And yes, Edmonton has lost in free agency thus far to an extent, with not getting the likes of Jacob Markstrom, again outbid to their rival in the Calgary Flames, and not even getting Thomas Greiss as a backup option, because Greiss just went to Detroit, I believe, on a 2-year deal earlier today. But nonetheless, I really hope for Holland's sake that he can address that goaltending. At this point, it will probably be via trade. Darcy Kemper or Antti Raanta comes to mind if they will say go down that route again, because they have been rumored with Kemper in the past over this past month. So I wonder if things will pick up there again. I'm not sure, but I hope for Ken Holland's sake he can get something done, because that goaltending definitely needs to be addressed. It can't just be Mikko Koskinen. It's not enough. And Antoine Forsberg, he's not a terrible goaltender, but he's a fringe NHL goaltender, no doubting. So hopefully they bring in something there. But I like this for Edmonton a lot. If you look at the other moves that they made as well, they brought in Kyle Turris from that buyout from Nashville. I believe they brought him in on a 2-year deal. That was really strong. And they bring Tyler Ennis back into play, who they originally acquired at the trade deadline from the Ottawa Senators. So I really like a lot of these smaller moves they're making, and Tyson Barrie is huge for them. One of the biggest names on the free agent market on the defensive front, along with the likes of not just TJ Brodie, but Alex Pietrangelo, Shattenkirk, among others. I really like this. And Torrey Krug, obviously, that I touched on in a previous video. Make sure to check it out if you're interested. But it's just, I'm really impressed with this, truly. I think the fact that Barrie took this pay cut to go to the likes of Edmonton, knowing the kind of opportunity he's going to have there on both 5-on-5 and on the power play, is really going to do wonders for Edmonton, and this very well could be one of the best value contracts for this upcoming year. Now look, Edmonton now has just around, I believe, 1 to 1.5 mil in cap space currently, so I expect them to make more moves. I really hope for their sake, as I mentioned, that they do go for a goaltender via via trade, because at this point there's nothing significant in free agency. Corey Crawford signed with the Devils yesterday as well, which is very strong for the Devils, bringing in veteran leadership with the likes of Mackenzie Blackwood in its own right. But nonetheless, this deal made a lot of sense. I'm really happy for the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers are my favorite team in the West. They were the first team that I started following in the West just around a decade ago, so I'm really happy to see them gain a puck-moving defenseman on that blue line with the likes of Klefbom most likely being out long-term next season, but time will tell there. I like this a lot. Edmonton Oilers fans, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, how are you feeling about this signing of Barrie? Are you excited about it? Are you feeling iffy about it? And again, take into account, yes, Barrie isn't fantastic in the defensive zone. We all know this. He is offensively minded, but this is huge for the Oilers once again to finally get that power play quarterback, because just look at what Edmonton has managed to do with some fairly subpar defensemen in the past, whether it be 5-on-5 or on the power play. Now you bring Barrie in, who, yes, he's just over a year removed of having a 59-point season with the Avalanche. So I think this is huge for them. I really do. I love this signing a lot more than, say, some other people will, but nonetheless, I will be very interested to see how Ken Holland addresses either the rest of this year's free agency or just the trade market as a whole. I don't think he's done yet, or at least for his sake and the Oilers fans' sake, I hope he isn't done yet. That goaltending needs to be addressed, and he has been rumored to say go after some significant names either via free agency or the trade market if they make their own deals themselves. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But thank you all so much for checking out the video. If you haven't checked out my previous video regarding other big name free agents that have signed with other teams over this past 24 hours, make sure to check them out. I have them all there, and I will probably do a recap of this year's free agency once all the big fish are out of the way, and for the most part we know where everyone is landing. I'll be recapping literally every signing more than likely, so make sure to check that out when it does come. But thank you all so much for checking out the video. It means a lot. Hit subscribe and like if you enjoy this kind of hockey content. As always, it means a ton to me, guys. Help us reach 2K. We are over halfway there. I can't believe I would have never expected the channel to be where it's at currently. So thank you all again. It means a ton, and I will be back very, very soon.